Meghan Markle has never looked so awkward. Standing next to a similarly uncomfortable Prince Harry, the picture painted 1,000 words, all of them miserable. On the plus side, the gruesome twosome were at least with each other for a rare moment of public togetherness. But if their video to promote online protection for children was in part to quash increasing reports that their marriage is on the rocks, mission emphatically not accomplished. They appeared, to put it mildly, less than happy. Warmth was conspicuous by its absence. Why? Perhaps because at the troubled couple's Montecito Palace in the setting sun, the clouds are gathering for a rapidly escalating number of reasons. First, new President-elect Donald Trump has vowed to take a look at Harry's visa application and review his right to reside in California. Could this be the beginning of the end for the British royals' American dream? Now, fueling rumours that a marital split is imminent, Harry has staged yet another of his solo appearances, surprising the crowd at the Pat Tillman Foundation Honours Gala in Chicago. But where was Meghan? The ginger whinger never seems to go anywhere with his wife these days. As one royal commentator wryly inquired, is Harry ever home anymore? The last time their Montecito Majesties were all smiles was at their billionaire Hollywood chum Tyler Perry's 55th birthday party in September. Since then, no united front, but a blizzard of indications that all is far from well on planet Sussex. And make no mistake, Republican Trump's triumph will have been almost as devastating for classic West Coast liberal Meghan as it was for her mortified husband. No wonder sources close to the couple believe that their recent purchase of a $7 million seaside mansion in Portugal may have been with a view to a possible permanent move. If Trump revokes his visa, Harry might have no choice. Lawyers fighting to make the Duke's residency application public insist that if their suspicions are confirmed, while American citizen Meghan can, of course, stay, the prince from across the pond will have to go. Meanwhile, Meghan's family feud turmoil is threatening to get even worse. Last week, in a bombshell exclusive interview with little old me, the Duchess's estranged brother Thomas Markle accused her of being cold, rude and fake. An actress playing the part of a pound store princess. Now, her estranged sister Samantha is relaunching her legal case, claiming that the Duchess wrongly maligned her in her Netflix documentary series. Seething Sam alleges that Mean Meg implied that she was part of a group spreading misinformation. And she says her famous siblings' charge is as incorrect as it is defamatory. A looming court drama is the last thing Meghan needs. It's important to stress, of course, that the Duchess denies that she slandered Samantha. But back to that video and the body language that told a worrying story. In a new dynamic, perennial leading lady Meg very definitely played second fiddle, standing meekly by Harry's side as he issued forth with his customary new age virtue signalling psychobabble, and then chiming in with the traditional "my husband and I," a phrase made legendary by the late great Queen, who began almost every speech with those magic words. The big question is, how much longer will they be relevant for Meghan?
The King, you know, he's known for his work ethic. I have to say, the more he's been in that position, the more I've warmed to him.
Well, yes, because a birthday earlier this week, remembering he's in his mid-70s, he's obviously recovering from cancer, but he's always been a workaholic. And even birthdays, yes, he probably takes the view, well, it's just another birthday. The older you get, sometimes don't we think they become less important because you don't want to be celebrating them. But I think he just wants to get on with his job and do as much as he can. He's been frustrated this year. Meanwhile, his wife has obviously been recovering from a chest infection. She didn't go to the Gladiator premiere, which she was originally expected to go to. So, excuse me. I think it's good. He just wants to get out there and do his business. And hopefully it will get more and more normal as his recovery continues.
Yeah, and of course ceremonial gun salutes fired to mark the monarch's birthday at Green Park near Buckingham Palace and the Tower of London.
But let's talk about this Sun front page, which we've got here. Windsor raiders, Wills, Kate and kids slept. I think we can see the front page. It's an extraordinary story. Apparently thieves used a stolen truck to smash their way through a Windsor Castle security gate, and literally 5 minutes away, Wills, Kate and their kids were sleeping. And these guys basically broke in because there were no armed guards on the gate, which they use quite regularly. So it's used by members of the royal family, heirs to the throne, right? And apparently it leads into a farm called Shaw Farm, which is a working farm inside the castle security zone. They literally just drove through it. There's the front page there. Drove through it, stole an Isuzu truck and a quad bike and disappeared. And nobody stopped them. What's going on?
We need to stop for a second and think what this means. As you say, the heir to the throne, the next king, is sleeping on an estate where they have taken armed guards away.
Right.
Right?
And I know we don't say this without really thinking about what we're saying, but imagine if that was a terrorist.
Right. Right. And think about this. Everybody who's listening to this at home or on their way to work, if they can't, or if the state now is unwilling or unable to, and it's not unwilling, sorry, it's not unable, it's unwilling to properly protect the heir to the throne, what are they doing to keep everybody else safe? Right? I live in a reasonably nice building in London. I got home yesterday from a talk I was at, and my fiancée said to me, we've had a break-in, not to our flat, but to another flat in the building, where just like this, they had rammed through the gate to the car park, they'd turned on the water and flooded the underground car park, and they barricaded themselves in another flat using a coffee table while they stole everything, right? In a reasonably nice part of London. This is all a policy choice by successive governments, not to fund police, and crucially, not to clamp down on criminals. When they find the people that did this, they need to put them in prison and put them on television, show them crying their eyes out, snotty noses and everything for the rest of their lives.
Right?
Take everything off them, embarrass them, tell them that, you know, this is it for you forever, to encourage everybody else. I use this example again and again and again of the little country in Central America of El Salvador. The most dangerous place on earth. More murders than anywhere else on earth, including Afghanistan and active war zones. What happened? They got a guy in who locked up all the criminals. And what happened? It's the safest place in the Western Hemisphere, much safer than Canada or anywhere else. All you've got to do is take these scumbags and lock them up and never let them out. We can sort out the rest of the niceties afterwards, but if you're not interested in keeping the Prince of Wales safe, not interested in keeping anybody else safe either, we can't have a functioning civilization.
Well, this is it. It's all very well for Keir Starmer to say, oh, don't go after people for tweeting things, go after the criminals. Well, the police aren't doing that because they're woefully inadequate at capturing anybody and actually solving crimes at all. It says here as well, the decision to remove armed police from this particular entrance and the other main entrance for the public and tradespeople was said to be down to a shortage of qualified officers. It was also to soothe tourists who were nervous about gun-toting cops. I've never heard of any... I mean, why would the tourists be upset about gun-toting cops? Surely you'd be rather happy to see gun-toting cops. When I see cops with guns in London, I'm very happy to see that.
We've had her on the show before. This is an appalling woman. I'm going to mention her name once. And the only reason I'm going to mention her name once is because all she's interested in is becoming a celebrity. OK, we probably got a bit of video of her being on the show.
You threw her out last time, do you remember? And she wouldn't leave.
But her name, Narinder Kaur, whatever her flipping name is, apparently she's a star on Good Morning Britain. But I don't ever watch that, so I wouldn't know. And she's been slammed for cruelly suggesting that Princess Kate is a smoker, and that's how she looks following her cancer battle and why she's got cancer. The most disgusting and appalling thing I have ever seen anybody say. How did you feel about it in the US?
Yeah, I mean, she's judging this woman that just battled cancer. She said she's only 42. She's aging horribly. She must be a smoker, as if chemotherapy doesn't poison your body trying to kill, cancer. I thought it was ludicrous. I thought it was really cruel, and I was very upset over it. I think that this has been a tough year for the Princess of Wales. And it's a horrible job. We've talked about this before, whether you're Queen Camilla, whether you're Meghan Markle, there is a microscope on you. People judge the way you dress. They judge the way you look. They judge. There are lip readers. There are body language experts. It's probably the worst job in the world to be one of these princesses. I know I wouldn't want to be one, and I love this family.
I couldn't agree
and to
more.
do that with cancer, you know how horrible.
Well, listen, I as you know, I have cancer, and I have. I'm there at the moment with affecting my way I talk, obviously, tonight.
Yeah.
But I'm on a chemo that is just the most appalling thing. I can't tell you. But you get through it. I think she looks very good, whether she was ill or not, for 40. I mean...
But, I mean, if you're on Team Harry and Meghan, then you're sort of almost anti... It's so polarised, the world. If you like Harry and Meghan, you're going to be anti...
Why do you...
I know you're a big fan of Meghan and Harry.
Listen, stop it. You're being stupid. This is a serious point.
Well, I am making a serious point.
You do not talk about somebody like that in public who is actually battling cancer.
I'm not talking about
You be quiet.
No.
And it is this woman.
But that's why she's
this
done it.
woman is the most disgusting thing I have ever heard. I'm really appalled that she should be so sarcastic and horrible about a lady who is in probably the most high-profile job of anyone, and she's suffering. And trust me, the treatments for cancer quite often are worse than actually
She's
having
got 3
it.
young children
And
as well.
she's, God, dear radio, I'm not a religious person, but
It's a very low blow just to get hits on your Twitter or whatever.
Yes.
And
Well,
then
and on Remembrance Day,
apparently
like,
you
what a
mentioned
stupid-
me. That's very sweet of you.
I did. I went on a tirade about her because I thought this isn't the first time I've seen her attack someone I care about that has cancer.
Aw.
That was the first thing I thought when I saw this. It was a low blow. It was Remembrance Sunday. We should have been thinking about all of the people that have sacrificed for us. We should have been thinking about heroes. We shouldn't have been, especially somebody that identifies as a feminist, picking apart a woman's physical appearance. And like you said, a woman that has sacrificed so much of her life for the monarchy and for a life of service. But I did mention you because I thought that was my first instinct was this is not the first time I've seen her try to bully somebody that I care about that has cancer.
But she is, very sweet of you, and thank you very much indeed. What I do not understand is how she could be so dim as to think that is going to... Who is going to actually respect or like anything she does in the future? I'm never going to have her on a show again.
Not only that, she did this fake apology. She said, well, my brother has cancer or had cancer, as if that was going to justify her judging someone with cancer.
Makes it worse.
Then she started retweeting people that said Catherine never had cancer. So she started participating in these conspiracies about Catherine lying about the state of her health, which if you want to be famous, if you want to be a public figure, she calls herself a broadcaster, despite the fact that she's a reality show person that has stumbled into being on television with no particular expertise. You have to be careful because that is a lot of... we're giving you a huge responsibility when we put you on television. So for you to go and, participate in some of these nasty conspiracy theories, you're jeopardizing your career. It's not just about being ugly and mean-spirited, but when you pursue misinformation, you jeopardize your career. I don't know what she was thinking. Maybe she was 3 martinis too deep.
Do you think she regrets it now and she'll never get on mainstream TV again?
Well,
Actually, hang on. I don't think any TV programme should ever have this stupid human being back on again. I'm not going to mention her name because that's what she wants. And she's gone viral.
That's why she does it.
Yeah,
I mean, she does all right out of it. She thinks she regrets it? She probably doesn't, does she? I mean, you said she sort of doubled down on it already.
Yeah, she did double down. I mean, and then she did this crazy, they call them YouTube apologies, where you go on the internet trying to look disheveled. You don't brush your hair, you don't wear makeup, and you try to look sincere. And she basically said, I'm sorry if you're offended. That's not an apology. I'm sorry if you're... And then she said that Catherine was privileged throughout her cancer diagnosis, that Catherine was a privileged white woman. Like, how does that have anything to do with the fact that you went after her looks on Remembrance Day? None
at all. The woman, the person, I don't like to even put a gender to her. I just think that person really doesn't deserve to be on TV, radio, in the papers again. An appalling thing to say about somebody who is you know, identifies with our country, particularly abroad. The royal family are very important.
Well, she's from India. Her heritage is from India, isn't it? There's a lot of British heritage. A lot of them have died remembered at remembrance.
You know, she should be ashamed of herself. That's the woman who made these mistakes. Personally,
not even identifying.
Yeah, but I hopefully won't see her in the papers or TV or hear her on radio again.
You threw her out last time. She wouldn't leave.
No.
Well, I was asked to be on TV with her, and I told the booker I would rather die in a fire. So that's my attitude going forward.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be so... She wants an argument, and she wants the argument so she can put it out on social media to go viral. And I'm so glad you really took her to task on that. And, you know, I've got cancer, and I shouldn't really be here, but I'm quite an old guy, and I've had a great life.
Very old.
She is... Quite, not very. She is a young mother who is in, and her father-in-law is ill too, and I feel so sorry for William. I mean, it must be
lost his brother, sort of. I mean, any news on that? And what's going on?
Let's leave that out of it.
Well,
let's just forget that. No, it's not of any
royal
interest.
tidbits.
I feel so sorry for William because he must find it real. I know what it's like. It must be really difficult. Because, you know, sometimes you want to talk about it, sometimes you don't. I actually don't mind talking about it, which is why I do. But it's just, to say what this appalling person has said, I'm absolutely shocked. And when I first saw this, I really couldn't. I couldn't think of anything nice to say about this person.
Well, you wouldn't, would you? You were spitting feathers, weren't you?
Kinsey.
I agree with you. And you think about the fact that this was days after Prince William said that it was the most brutal year of their life.
Yeah.
And he lost, you and I've talked about this several times before, he lost his mother. He you know, I can't imagine the fear he must have been going through this year, knowing that he never wanted his children to experience something so traumatic. So it really is just cruel to pile on this. If you don't like the royal family, then argue that you don't like the existence of the royal family, but you don't have to pick apart a cancer patient.
Meanwhile, let's talk about Prince Andrew, because we talked about Royal Lodge and whether he can actually keep that. There seems to be funding available for him to be able to keep Royal Lodge, but now it basically it transpires. That's the word I'm looking for. It transpires that actually they're now worried about the upkeep of Royal Lodge and that certain things may have to happen to the contents of that dwelling.
Yeah, the Royal Collection, there's some fine works of art within the walls of Royal Lodge, and part of the lease for the Duke of York is to maintain his lodge properly, and that means protecting and looking after the art, and that probably means, in many cases, turning the heating on, and that, we know, is expensive, particularly at this time of year, because we don't want damp ruining what might be some very decent royal treasures. So that, and they may feel that if the place is not being kept properly, to take those aforementioned bits of art, I don't know exactly what, but out of his house. It's heaping further pressure on him to make sure that this newfound investment that he claims to have to make sure that he can stay there is used as it should be, which is to make sure Royal Lodge is kept in at tip-top condition, because that was the terms of the lease. The King is powerless in many ways to get him out. Now it's been revealed that he has the funds to live there, but what some elements of people who've got art, whatever, sculptures, you name it, within the four walls, they will want to make sure that the art is kept in tip-top condition, and that might just make it a bit harder for the Duke of York to maintain his lifestyle within the lodge.
Let's talk about Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, usuals. I think what's interesting is a story's come out now to suggest that Meghan Markle... Now, you and I and other royal commentators have been talking for some weeks now about Harry's obvious desire to somehow mend the bridges with the royal family over here in Britain and to maybe even come back here do a few royal duties, and regain the love of the British people that he used to have. I think he misses his popular status because people don't like him anymore. So we've talked about that. I think it was always a bit of a long shot because William, you know, I don't think he ever wants to be in the same postcode as his brother ever again, let alone forge some kind of peace pact. The king, I think, is similarly cautious, shall we say. But we always thought, well, that's the reason. It's that the royals over here, you know, maybe, maybe not, but you've committed a lot of sins towards the royal family here, Harry, and we're not really ready to forgive you. Maybe the British people aren't ready to forgive you. But now we're hearing that actually Meghan Markle has said to Harry an ultimatum. You go back to Britain. You do more and more appearances, public appearances in Britain. You know, you do some kind of peace deal with the royal family. I, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, I want to be a part of that peace deal. You and I are a team and we go together. Now, if that's the case, if she's saying I've got to be with Harry when Harry makes his peace deal with the royal family over here in Britain, there will be no peace deal.
I mean, according to the Mirror, Meghan feels as though any attempt of a reunion with just Harry is a no-go. She also said that, you know, she has been very clear that she is not about to let Prince William or anyone else drive a wedge between her and Prince Harry. Again, these quotes I would attribute to the Mirror. And yeah, I'm with you. When it comes to a reconciliation, there is another lawsuit. The court case starts. This is not a new one. It's an existing one. But that court case starts in January where Prince Harry accuses his father of, you know, trying to hinder his success in that case. That's just going to rile up the palace. Look at the way they behaved over the last, you know, year while the King and the Princess of Wales has suffered from cancer. And it reminds me, it reminds me a little bit of the stories we heard circulating around the Sandringham summit. Do you remember how it was reported that they would not allow Meghan Markle to dial in during the Sandringham summit because they were fearful that she would try to record it? She would try to record a Zoom call. She could try to record the phone call. There was already that lack of trust, you know, before Megxit had officially taken place. So imagine today, after Oprah, after Spare, after the Netflix series, the trust is completely gone. And the idea that she needs to be involved in any sort of peace talks, I think she's just, again, we've talked about this so many times, her insecurity, you know, her fear of rejection. I just think that she reeks of it. And, you know, if there's any sort of reconciliation on the horizon, the reality is it is going to be without her. I don't think that the royal family wants her anywhere near them.
I totally agree with you. I think that, you know, she says, oh, you know, if I'm not involved, Harry, it's a deal breaker. Well, it will be a deal breaker if she is involved, and it will be a deal breaker for King Charles, particularly Prince William, Prince of Wales, you know, and indeed the Princess of Wales, Kate. I don't think they ever want to see her again. So I suspect that if this story is true, that she's saying to Harry, don't you forget about me, I need to be a part of the deal, that'll be more to do with her insecurity about Harry. That if Harry goes to the royals in Britain, if he comes back here more and more, if he does broker some kind of, you know, even tenuous peace deal, if he does that, she will be cut out of the picture. That's what this is all about. And that's what she's worried about, that the pull of Harry's home country and his family may tear him apart from her.
We are seeing so much of Prince Harry solo, Meghan solo too. But I do think when pollsters and when some of these surveyors start to tell us that Prince Harry's popularity is going up, the more and more we see him step away from Meghan Markle, that is when you're going to see the claw come back, and all of a sudden Harry and Meghan are going to be making these joint appearances again, because the last thing Meghan wants is for Prince Harry's popularity to soar while hers continues to flounder. And what is she doing? Prince Harry is out representing Invictus Games. He's out representing charities. He's out representing a life of service. And Meghan's telling us she wants us to buy her friend's new hair care system. Meghan's telling us she wants us to buy these new purses. Their paths are so different, and it's much easier to get behind one of them. It's the one that's kneeling down talking to children with cancer, not the one that's in Venice dancing the night away with her girlfriends that's an expert hair colorist, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, doesn't she, I mean, shouldn't she, if she wants to project an image of unity, this is what I think is really interesting. It seems to me, from what we're discussing, that she wants the world to know, hey, listen, me and Harry, we're still a team. He can't do a deal with the royal family. No peace pacts without me. I have to be involved. Me and Harry, we come as a pair. We're a package. Well, why doesn't she organise just one public appearance with her husband? You know, she doesn't seem to be able to do that. So Harry, we talked about it last week, he went to Chicago on his own to attend an event for the Pat Tillman Foundation. He's been seen back here. He's been to 3 different countries on his own, constantly on his own. You know,
in Vancouver. He was in Vancouver over the weekend. And while Meghan was in Venice, California at a solo event, this happened Thursday night. Meghan was in Venice at a event launching a company she's invested in, a hair care company she's invested in. And then we saw Prince Harry alone in Canada, in Vancouver, promoting the Invictus Games. This is not a one-off. This is a pattern. Yeah.
I think that this is just my speculation, but I think there's a possibility that what this scenario is that she desperately wants to engineer some kind of public display of affection between the two of them. Look, we're together again. And I don't think he's all that keen on doing it because you can't, you know, I mean, time and time again, he just appears on his own. You know, people are saying, where's Meghan? Where is she? So we come back to the same old story that maybe all is not well behind the gilded gates of Montecito Palace, that relationship maybe is in a bit of trouble.
I think that Prince Harry sees the different reaction he gets from the public and from commentators when he's by himself, and he prefers that reaction. He grew up being the one that was out, the royal rebel, the one that was more of an extrovert, the one that wanted to make you laugh. And he loved the praise he got all over the world for being the outsider, but also being the silly one and the one that was unique in a way. And I think that he has not enjoyed the last 4 or 5 years of really negative press attention. And so he probably is enjoying these solo gigs where everybody is going, wow, the old Harry's back. Wow, look at Prince Harry smiling for the first time in such a long time. He seems more comfortable when he's on his own. You know, think about all of the things we've said over the last few months when we've seen him by himself. Comfortable is almost... I feel like comfortable is a lazier way to describe it, but carefree. I mean, his entire posture changes when he's not with Meghan, because I feel like he has so much more to worry about when she's there. He's worried about security. He's worried about the safety of their children. But when he is by himself, he just seems blissful. I'm sorry to say it, but blissful in the environment that he grew up in, that he knows he excels in. Yeah. And I don't know, you know, I feel like he likes that positive reaction.
You're right. I think you're absolutely right, Kinsey. He enjoys, if nothing else, he just enjoys solo appearances more than he enjoys appearing in public with his wife. I think that's been proved over the last couple of months.
And talk about Donald Trump, of course, he's won. He's the president-elect. That will have an impact, I think, on Meghan and Harry, the saga that continues to excite.
Yes, whether the details of Harry's visa And how much is he going to be exercised by this? I don't know. It does seem he might have far more pressing issues within the, I suppose, as he comes president in a couple of months' time, and the relationship with Britain he sees as important. It's going to be one that he's got to navigate. Will he want to spend his time worrying about Prince Harry? You just don't know. Depending where people saying, with all the immigration issues that Donald Trump is going to be focusing on, does Prince Harry come under one who's been...
Well, I mean, if you remember back in... if you remember back in 2020, he claimed the Biden administration had been too gracious on Harry. He also said to the Express newspaper, I wouldn't protect Harry. He betrayed the Queen. That's unforgivable. He would be on his own if it was down to me. So I do wonder whether there's going to be an impact.
Well, absolutely. I know he said those things, and we saw pictures of him, Donald Trump, looking back over his state visit to this country with the late Queen, which it was a bit of a controversial visit at the time. He didn't always adhere to the standard protocol. He seemed to always go in front of the Queen, but the Queen took a very phlegmatic approach to it. But he definitely is an Anglophile. Remember, he's got lots of business interests within this country, golf courses in Scotland, very much part and parcel of his business empire, and he wants to expand that. So he does have reasons to try and make sure things carry on as normal within this country. And maybe, given his affection for the royal family, certainly the ones in this country, it might mean problems for Harry. But I'm not holding my breath. I think that might just be kicked into the long grass, and Harry will continue to live within the United States.
A lot of trouble going on at Montecito, Samantha.
Yeah, I've seen more chemistry in hostage videos than what I saw in that. And I genuinely think that there is really something fishy going on. Their relationship is clearly on the rocks. It's all the earmarkers. I mean, not being seen together for ages. Then this very constructed video comes out where it looks like they're both forced to be there. They're reading off a teleprompter. I could see that they were not touching. They were just side by side. And usually when you see them together, you know, she's always got her hand somewhere on him, sort of fondling him. And I don't know. Anyway, she's very touchy-feely usually, and there just wasn't this thing here. And Harry, you can see behind his eyes a lot of sadness and sort of almost disdain. I don't know, maybe I'm reading into it a little too much, but it wasn't the Harry and Meghan that we usually see.
They look really stiff and awkward together. And what I didn't realise is that 2 days before, the New York Post, in their page 6 column, had said exactly the same thing. Everybody is looking at that and saying there's something not right with this couple.
You're saying, oh, she used to be touchy-feely all the time. I remember a lot of people saying, oh, can't you just stop pouring him? Can't you just stop leaving him alone?
Well, that's what I mean.
And now they're standing together side by side.
She's definitely doing that.
You know, there's definitely something wrong here.
The last time they looked happy together, as I said in my monologue, was back in September. They went to Tyler Perry's 55th birthday, and they were smiling and touchy-feely in the back of a car then. But it looks like something has gone wrong since then.
It was so depressing. Yeah. I mean, the actual content of the video was about as vacuous as I can imagine their relationship probably is. Sorry, seriously. No, there was nothing in there. I can't believe if I was forced to stand there and read out this psychobabble, I actually would really be questioning, what am I doing with my life? And I think it harkens back to a bigger issue within their relationship where they're not exactly sure what direction they're going in right now. The actual video itself didn't imprint. Can you remember one line from that video?
Oh, cool. Yeah. There was a lot of old West Coast psychobabble as usual.
Yeah, exactly.
Indecipherable, load of old rubbish about, interconnectivity and God knows what. So, Meghan and Harry speak in a different language to the rest of us. They speak Californian. It's always, impossible to understand.
But the message they're trying to get across is a good one, isn't it? Don't you think?
I don't particularly want to knock them for that, but I think a couple of sort of privileged people standing in their massive mansion, going, oh, online harm for children, let's protect children. I'm not sure how much good it does.
listen, if it's something that puts that front and centre and means that more people get to hear about it, then it's a good thing.
Brilliant for them. What a couple. Stunning and brave.
Oh, my
I'm
word.
not sorry, unless I actually see them going to some victim's house, going and helping a family, making a direct donation to someone's family who's lost their child because of online bullying. I'm not going to rest. But I know that it's going to be them on their iPhone. Oh, sorry, Meghan, we have to go make this video outside our mansion today.
Exactly right. And do you know, when they launched this campaign a couple of months ago, they went to that cabin in the hills, and a few families of parents of kids who'd actually killed themselves due to online harm. And that was Harry and Meghan. Oh, so great to meet you. And then on their website, it said, this is the campaign to protect parents. There will be no more personal meetings. So they don't want to waste too much time on any of that.
Precisely. Apparently, it's all going to be done via Zoom online.
They are, Simon, aren't they? A couple of virtue signalling frauds. Look at us. We do wonderful work now. You're all out for yourself, you two.
Everything they do is kind of sort of just bashed completely. If you're giving time to people... Well, let me finish. If you're giving time to people and you're doing some charity...
They're not giving time to people. They're just making
you just said they were.
They're making poxy videos to make themselves
You just said they were. You just said they were. And also giving Zoom... Giving Zoom time to people to talk about so that they can do that. I think that's quite good. And you did mention as well that furore over the Pat Tillman Awards, Harry kind of manning up and going along to the awards.
So he went
that sort of stuff is...
Yeah, but the only takeaway from that, Simon, was he went on his own. I mean, do they go anywhere together anymore?
But it was him who was...
never seen
But it was him who was given the award.
Let me tell you, mate. I said this the other...
The award was given to Harry.
There is something going on here. There is something going on here. And by the way, she now is back embroiled in this family dispute because Samantha Markle, her estranged sister, her half-sister, has relaunched this defamation case against her, saying that in the video, in the Netflix series, Meghan makes it clear that this is Samantha's case, that Samantha was part of a group that was basically putting so much misinformation online that they were encouraging people to kill Meghan. And that's what Meghan said. And Samantha said, I wasn't part of that group. I had nothing to do with that. And therefore, you've defamed me. So that case is going back to appeal. She could be in court soon.
OK, well, you glossed over the Pat Tillman thing. The award was given to Harry, so Meghan doesn't need to be there. That's the first thing. The second thing is what we said last week, or what I tried to say last week about, no, you can roll your eyes, but what I tried to say last week was this is a family. This is a family.
I did not roll the eyes. I was concentrating.
This is a family that is that always wants to play out their feuds for the camera, in the courts and everything else. They can't just go somewhere, sit down and thrash it out. And so it's really difficult to feel sympathetic from where I sit for either side. I really, why does Samantha feel she has to take this to court again? Last week, Thomas Markle Jr., I think he said in that interview, I warned Harry off marrying Meghan before they even got married. And then he wants to be friends with her. And then he wants to kind of...
In that brilliant interview.
In that brilliant interview done by little old you.
I thought he was a decent guy, and I think that they're actually hurt by the fact that she has cast them aside. She's cast them into oblivion. And it's because she's a little snob. Yeah. She wants to, as I said last week, she's a pound store princess, and she feels that her, if you like, sort of blue-collar family don't make her look good. She likes to pretend she's from the top of the social ladder in America, and she's just not.
38 days to go until Christmas. No invitation for Meghan and Harry to join the rest of the royal family, as far as I understand.
Well, I think you can add you to the list, you can add me to the list. I just, I can honestly say I'm not surprised. I'm not sure they want to come. It will just actually give a soap opera element to the Christmas festivities. Look, it's going to be hard. Two members of that family are recovering from cancer. How's that going to be stage managed? If we suddenly have Harry and Meghan appearing at the church service on Christmas Day, it will add a new dimension. I don't think they want the fuss and the bother. So I'm not sure there was ever going to be an invitation. And it doesn't look as if Harry and Meghan are desperately keen to charge back to this country with their children to have Christmas with his family.
Time magazine has published it's called the Time 100 Climate 2024 list. It's like 100 brilliant campaigners for the climate, save the planet and all that. In the middle of this list, bizarrely, if you ask me, is Prince Harry. You know, that private jet fan who spends most of his life flying around the planet in planet-destroying jets, often private jets. So he's no great eco-warrior, if you ask me, but he's being cited here, or being praised by Time magazine, because he works with this company called Travelist. Travelists are all about teaching you and me and all of us plebs, you know, if we're going to go on holiday, how to keep our carbon emissions low. Prince Harry doesn't worry about any of that, but he wants us to be very concerned about the carbon emissions caused by our vacations. I mean, frankly, he can go to hell.
He was inspired to create Travelist while a working member of the royal family. I mean, Kevin, I think we could talk all day long, obviously, about these participation trophies and what the ultimate objective is for these two, because we know that what they're trying to do is they're trying to force people to, they're trying to buy credibility, right? They want to demand that we respect them in these different arenas. And of course, we could say practice what you preach. Absolutely. But it's interesting to me that when they are gifted something, particularly Prince Harry, Travelist, he's getting this acknowledgement from Time with the Pat Tillman Award that was for Invictus. Isn't it interesting that he's rewarded for these entities that started under the royal family umbrella, put together by experts, put together by the gray suits that knew what they were doing? It seems like the only successful entities they have are these, you know, organizations, foundations, companies that were built under the royal family umbrella. Everything else is falling apart because they don't have that template that was built by the royal families. But they say, you know, Travelist is a nonprofit that provides people booking travel with emissions and other sustainability data, so they can consider the lowest impact when they're making their plans. Well, here's an idea for you. If you want to have like the lowest emissions when traveling for vacation, don't buy a beach house in Portugal. I mean, that seems like quite the trek.
Yeah.
You're going back and forth to Portugal.
Exactly right. And, you know, maybe, you know, don't leave a private jet idling on the runway of Santa Barbara Airport because you forgot your polo kit, and you send your flunkies back to Montecito to pick your kit up, and then you take it back to your plane, and then you fly in your private jet to Chicago to play one game of polo, and then you fly back to California. I'm not against the principle of Travelist. You know, we should all do our best, I guess, to help the environment, but I'm not taking lectures from this guy who spends most of his life in the air destroying the planet, and, as I say, who once kept a private jet idling for about an hour on the runway while his staff went to get the kit that he'd forgotten before he flew on a private jet to Colorado to play polo. I mean, come on, hypocrisy doesn't even begin to cover it, does it? Anyway, you've got some questions from our lovely audience.
Yeah, well, going back to the bullying we discussed earlier, the bullying that Meghan likes to, you know, try and quash on the internet. Valerie has said, Meghan loves to bully senior citizens. The Queen, her own father, Prince Philip. Elder abuse is on the rise, sadly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Why does she have such a dim view of old people?
She falls out with the Queen. She has a problem with her dad. That's hardly going around bullying senior citizens. She's clearly going around. She's at a care home now. Gaslighting.
She's atrociously ageist. It's quite clear.
More like,
Let's have another question.
She's got a problem with authority, and anyone that tries to tell her that she's not.
She does.
I'll tell you what she's got a problem with. Her husband. Anyway, what's
next? He's a whipped man. Marino says, nobody has seen the kids, not the King of the UK, neither her father or the public. I don't believe that she has kids.
Well, you know,
there was a nice picture of the kids.
I believe.
That was just
yeah,
on
what, the back
Instagram.
of their heads?
No, there was a picture of all of them. That's the first time I've seen.
Yeah.
I think the first time I've seen them anyway. But there's a great picture on Instagram of all of them.
Yeah.
But everybody says the kids aren't hers and that she had a hysterectomy. There's a whole load of conspiracy theories.
That's because her and Harry, couple of idiots, go to the ends of the earth to sort of, you know, like bring down the shutters and make sure no one ever sees their
You're
kids.
allowed
Trust
to
me,
do
it's
that.
not about that. It's
Yeah,
actually,
but it's obsessive.
I can
It's
tell
silly.
you.
You know, pictures of her with the back of the kids' heads.
You're allowed to do
They
that.
wouldn't
where
even
your
tell
own
us. They wouldn't
children.
even tell us what the first one was called for
Yeah, but
about
you're
6
allowed to
months,
do
would
that.
they?
She's gatekeeping it for that sweet paycheck. Can tell
Okay.
you that much.
Okay,
She's a
maybe
businesswoman.
she is, but I don't think it's right that you kind of attack people who want to protect their children from being in the
Yeah, but
public eye.
it's not about
Harry
that.
had a real
He's
problem.
a member of the royal family.
Yeah, but you're still allowed to protect your children from the gaze of, you know, and especially with the sort of crap that is written about.
Well,
both
they
of them.
wouldn't get crap written about them if they were a bit more sensible about their kids.
Oh, no, of course.
The fact that they
Of course,
never
you
show
would
their
not say
kids
any
to
crap.
anyone, the fact they never show their kids to anyone leads to all these conspiracy
Listen.
theories. Enough! News Nation over there in the States is reporting that a classmate of Prince Harry's at Sandhurst, the Army Officers Training College that he went to, the academy there, he said this classmate is saying that Harry really likes to be ordered around. Which might explain another dynamic of that relationship he has with Meghan.
Yeah, the Duke of Submission.
Yeah.
This is coming from, like you said, a former classmate. According to News Nation, the classmate said Harry likes to be ordered around, told what to do, and sometimes if the attention wasn't on him, he would do little things to get the attention back on him. News Nation attributing that behavior to Harry being the spare, which I get. You know, the Queen Mother would pull Prince William aside. Queen Elizabeth, once Prince William went to Eton, spent a lot of private time with him that Harry didn't get to spend with her. I get this, actually. But they say that behavior has kind of bled into his adult life, and you're seeing him kind of compete, and it's my interpretation, compete with the royal family when it comes to wanting attention. Some might argue that he competes with Meghan, and that's why they're so low. But I would argue that it's likely the royal family. But one question I had from this, because the idea that Prince Harry really likes to be ordered around. I mean, he was at a military academy.
Yeah, he's in the army. I mean, for God's sake, you do get ordered around.
Right, but I'm wondering if maybe we are misinterpreting it, and perhaps this was a nice way for this person, this former classmate, to say he lacks leadership. I'd like you to know what your interpretation is. Could it be that he lacks leadership?
I think that's I mean, I hadn't thought about it, but I think you're right. He's not a leader, I don't think. I really don't.
We want to talk to you today about the recent break-in at Windsor Castle. This is very much in our sphere, right, Ted? We talk about things like this all the time on Court TV.
Yeah, this is crime. And it's also more interestingly, like, the criminal mind is so difficult to get your head around, because if I'm going to go steal a pickup truck and some sort of bike, I don't know that I'm going to a royal's castle. There would probably be easier places to steal these items from, but I think it comes back to that mind. It's like, boom, look what we did. And
right.
It's scary. It's scary because as much as we talk about them, and famous people are people, and they have kids, and it had to have been very frightening when they got word of what happened.
Absolutely. All right. So let's kind of briefly discuss what happened. It was around 11:45 p.m. on Sunday, October the 13th, when police received a report of a burglary at a property on Crown Estate land near. It's about 5 minutes from Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, on the Windsor estate. So it's not necessarily in that core castle where did you know people actually live in there? Did you know that?
No.
When you're touring it, they try to, scoot your butt out at a certain time so that people can have like an element of normalcy. Now, the queen sometimes lived there, but there are other relatives that live in different parts of the castles, and then employees that live in that little sanctuary too. So it wasn't in that little sanctuary area, but it is on the big estate in like this farmhouse where this took place. But it was still 5 minutes from Catherine and Prince William, who were at home with the children. The children were in bed at the time because they had school the next day. Officers say they entered a farm building and made off with a black Isuzu pickup and a red quad bike. And they haven't caught these people. No arrests have been made. I think that obviously if they stole two things, I believe that's two individuals that they're looking for. Maybe I'm just assuming, but pretty scary stuff when you think about the heir to the throne and his children that are also in the line of succession, that they were in the midst of something kind of, it's pretty chaotic.
Yeah, when you say 5 minutes away, like drive, how far? Because the way I envision them being in this cottage on the grounds. So is it all on the other side of a wall, or?
Is it all on the other side of the wall? No, actually, to me, what makes Windsor's my favorite castle of all of them. And I thought it would be Kensington Palace, but it's not. Kensington Palace is like in the city, and it's almost like the city almost makes it not as magical because like across the street, there's like, you could get like a kebab, like, you know what I mean? But where in Windsor,
everybody loves a kebab.
That's true. But at Windsor, it's country. It's like countryside. So you have to take a train to get there. It feels very Harry Potter because as you're on this train, you see this castle getting bigger and bigger. And there are teeny tiny little pubs right outside the castle. And there are guards, but the presence is so not intimidating that you feel like you could just walk up to the castle. I would never. And then when you're taking the tour, you are literally like a children's soccer field away from where the queen was living and staying at some, during some portions of her life. Like if you had the audacity and you weren't afraid of getting tackled, you could just walk right across that grass. So I've always felt like Windsor was such an intimate place, and they seemed so much more accessible at Windsor, which is why that's my favorite castle. And like I said, when you're one of the last ones there, I made sure I wanted to pee in the castle. Like that was my objective. I wanted to be able to say I peed in Windsor Castle. So I was one of the last people to leave because I was like, yeah, I need to use the restroom. And they stick with you because there are people that live comfortably in that little castle area, and they want to make sure that they scooch everybody out. But it was so just intimate and quiet and beautiful. And it's a lot of land. And the likelihood is, I'm sure that you have to go through some barriers that they created to protect the Wales family. You called it pretty early on, this professional divorce, and it kind of seems like Harry and Meghan have acknowledged it in a statement they released, talking about the prince taking center stage in Vancouver. What is your, instinct here? Are Harry and Meghan, is this a successful pursuit that you're seeing professionally?
What I find strange, Kinsey, and you and I have talked about this, is how much at least Harry seems to be relishing and enjoying going places without his wife. Now, look at the contrast. There is Harry over the weekend up in Vancouver promoting Invictus Games, good for him. Why couldn't he take Meghan along? Maybe even the kids as well. Instead, she's down at Venice Beach in LA, sort of partying with a few of her friends, celebrating a new hair product, hippie hair or something. Now, this is like pointed separateness. Do you see what I mean? Now, we know that image makers have said to Harry, at least, maybe, it's better off when you're alone. When you go places with Meghan, she's a bit toxic and it's not very good for your image. So, as we've discussed before, he's been going for more and more private, personal, solo appearances. And now it's sort of reached a tipping point now. This weekend I thought, what the hell is going on? Are these two people ever going to appear together again? Now we know that Meghan in particular is kind of worried about these increasing rumours about a potential split, that the marriage is in trouble. Now, if it's not in trouble, surely she would say to him, Harry, we need to go out. You know, we need to be seen in public. You know, go to a restaurant, go to bloody Vancouver if you like, go to the Venice Beach disco together, be photographed. That would kill a million rumours, and yet it doesn't happen. The only conclusion that you can begin to reach is there is something going wrong here, that maybe you know, Harry doesn't want to be seen with his wife. Maybe she doesn't want to be seen with him. But it does strike me that these solo appearances have reached a kind of crisis point. Something is going on here.
I love the way that you give Meghan Markle a Dick Tracy voice. You're like, Harry, you see?
Harry,
it's very nice.
Harry.
All right, well,
we gotta be seen in public again.
Break-in that happened at Windsor Castle, where two masked burglars got onto land in Windsor Castle. They stole a tractor and some farm equipment. We understand that the King and the Queen were not in residence at the time, but William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and their 3 young children were at Adelaide Cottage. It happened over a weekend on a Sunday night, suggesting that the family would have been there because they'd have been going to school the next day. We're not going to get too involved with it because the palace, we've spoken to the palace today, they of course will not comment on any security related issues. But I think stories like this do tend to generate alarm. I think it's worth pointing out that the theft happened some distance from Adelaide Cottage. It wasn't like it was William and Kate's backyard, but of course it's still a cause for concern. We know that they live in a small cottage where there are outbuildings, so they do have, as you would expect, a very thorough security unit taking care of them. That said, I'm sure a story like this probably will have shaken them up. Not so much that they'll be rushing back to Kensington Palace because they love their new life in Windsor. But of course, I think stories like this do show that even behind, the fortress of a castle or a palace, the Royalston can be vulnerable.
When I've walked through the Windsor grounds, and as you said, this happened, a little further off of that, still within the vicinity, but further off, it feels like such a sanctuary. I don't know when the last time you were there was, but it just feels like I'm in Disneyland sometimes. I'm happy. It just feels so safe and secure, and visually, obviously, it's stimulating. So I think when we hear about this, we're concerned because it is such a beautiful space, and we hope that it stays safe and secure. But wow, what a beautiful place that the Prince and Princess of Wales get to experience so often.
Well, I think they are also clearly very happy living in Windsor. They obviously feel very safe and secure there. I think most people would be surprised by just how normal their lives are. They'll jump in a car, they'll do the school run. And I think that's all very much within the protection of Windsor Great Park. So, as I say, no comment out of Kensington Palace on this because it's a security related issue. But everything I'm hearing from my sources is that, this isn't really too alarming for William and Catherine. They feel very safe and very happy in Adelaide Cottage, as they well should.
I would like to point out the hypocrisy in Meghan demanding that her literal DNA sibling refer to her by her title, but Harry and Meghan refuse to refer to Catherine as a Catherine, which the palace has asked us to call her Catherine for a few years now. And when they release statements about her, they call her Kate. That, Meghan, you don't have that relationship with her. You call her Catherine, Duchess of Sussex. It's like when they set her down and told her she did not have the relationship with Catherine to accuse her of having baby brain or talk about her hormones. Meghan is the hypocrisy continues to astound. Yeah. You can't demand that your literal DNA sibling call you by your title, but refuse to call Catherine by her title, a title she's earned, that she's worked so hard for. She's been in the family for years and she's suffered plenty. Yeah. But you want to call her Kate. No, she is not Kate to you. You guys do not have that kind of relationship. Like, get over it.
Yeah, I mean, I call her Kate because if anybody tells me to do something, I'll try to do the opposite. And Buckingham Palace doesn't tell me what to do, so I always call her Kate just to annoy them. But if I was Harry or Meghan, I would call her Catherine because I know if I was them, I know her. You know, in Harry's case, he used to be very close to her. So I agree with you. I would call her Catherine because that's what she wants to be called. Doesn't matter what I call her, but it does matter what Harry calls her. So this whole thing, see, this sums up Harry's life and by extension now Meghan's. Harry, all members of the royal family don't have much to think about. You know, from the moment they're born, they're not like the rest of us. They don't have to make a living. They don't have to go out and bring the bacon in. They don't have to put food on the table. Nothing. They don't really have to do anything. They just get loads of free money, and they live in palaces. You know, they have to come up with ways to occupy their time. Now, Harry, to be fair, you know, William, the King, Catherine, I'll call her that this time, they all do occupy their time brilliantly. So does Princess Anne and Edward. They all occupy their time. Harry, I'll tell you what he occupies his time with, thinking about his status. Is he 5th or 6th in line to the throne? You know, why don't I have a gun, armed police protection when I come back to England? Because William gets that. He's obsessed with his status. All he's got to think about are his silly little titles and where he is in succession to the throne and just how much we have to look up to him just because of where he was born. Well, look, we respect our royal family because most of the royal family respect us. But they're not entitled to our automatic respect. And they know that. The King knows that. William knows that. Edward, Anne, they all know that. They work hard to earn our respect and they get it. Harry does nothing to earn our respect, so he doesn't get it. And Meghan does even little less to earn our respect, and therefore she definitely doesn't get it. I mean, they've become a soap opera on the West Coast. It's entertaining, but I don't know what they amount to anymore. I don't really... Well, I know what the point of them is because they're a great story. We talk about them all the time. But
yeah.
In the same breath, I don't know what the point of them is.